Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda. Early this month, a movie director, Roger Lambert, died in his 90s. Now, you know what, as far as movie directors go, he never won an Oscar, he never won a Golden Globe. You probably couldn't name any films that Roger Lambert directed, and yet we probably have seen his work. And the fact was, Roger Lambert was a director of television adverts. Whenever in Britain ITV opened as the first commercial television station, the first advert that it showed was an advert for cigarettes. Now, it wouldn't be allowed today, of course, on TV, but the first ever TV advert in Britain was advertising cigarettes, and it was Roger Lambert that produced that. And he did so many TV adverts with slogans and images that probably many of us would still remember way back to childhood. For the famous adverts for Heinz baked beans, the adverts for Mr. Kipling making exceedingly good cakes, adverts for Guinness, adverts for Head and Shoulders. I don't have dandruff, just great hair. And even Captain Birdseye. Roger Lambert was responsible for dreaming up the idea of having Captain Birdseye to sell fish fingers for Birdseye Foods, for Findus. And so this guy made a huge impact on a lot of people's lives. We'd probably remember and use the slogans that he and his studio coined. His son, by the way, went on. A lot of people who started off making adverts went on, like Ridley Scott and people like that, went on to make big budget movies. But Roger Lambert never did. He was always happy just to make his money making TV adverts. His son went on to make TV shows, things like Gogglebox and The Traitors and Undercover Boss and even Squid Game. Not Squid Game, the one where people actually get killed like the film, but The Challenge, the reality TV show version of it where nobody got killed. But Roger Lambert undoubtedly created a lot of memorable images and a lot of memorable phrases. But there's somebody that actually created a lot of memorable phrases far more than any advertising tycoon or anyone else, and that was actually Jesus Christ. The amazing thing is that Jesus, just for all anybody knew, a humble carpenter 2,000 years ago, ended up coming out with these turns of phrase that everybody, whether they're Christians or not, still uses in their speech today. When people talk about turning the other cheek, when we talk about going the extra mile, when we refer to somebody as being a wolf in sheep's clothing, or we talk about the blind leading the blind, or we tell somebody that they should practice what they preach, or if we say that somebody, he who lives by the sword dies by the sword, or if we refer to somebody as a good Samaritan, or we refer to somebody else as being a rebellious child, as being a prodigal son. These are all phrases that were coined by Jesus. In fact, the words of Jesus have had an impact on people's lives more than any author that ever wrote a book, more than any songwriter that ever wrote a song, more than any movie director, more than any philosopher, more than any king or emperor. Jesus has had more of an impact upon the human race than any other human being that ever lived. Now, if you're not a Christian, that might be quite hard to explain. Why on earth would a humble carpenter living in a bit of a remote, out-of-the-way place like Israel 2,000 years ago have more impact on the human race than anybody else through what he said and did? Well, the fact is, of course, we know as Christians that the reason is because he wasn't just an ordinary man, but he was and is God incarnate, God come in human flesh. And so we celebrate today that we worship Jesus, the one who has touched the human race more than any other human being that ever lived. God bless you today. Join us again tomorrow for another Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda.